The alarm pierced the silence at exactly 2:47 a.m. Officer Daniel Reed froze mid-step, his breath visible in the cold November air. 23 years guarding Windsor had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, every nerve in his body screamed that something was wrong. The East Wing security panel blinked red. Someone had disabled the cameras. Someone who knew exactly which ones to target. Daniel's hand moved to his radio, but he stopped. Protocol said, "Call it in." Experience said, "Wait," because whoever did this had clearance. High-level clearance, the kind that could make a career disappear with one phone call. His boots made no sound on the ancient stone floor. Moonlight filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across portraits of kings and queens who had walked these same halls centuries before. But tonight, history didn't matter. Tonight, someone was stealing something from the crown. Daniel turned the corner and saw her. A woman in her 40s, elegant even in black clothing, carefully removing a small wooden box from a display case. Her hands moved with confidence, like she'd done this before, like she belonged here. Then she turned, and Daniel's world tilted. He knew that face. Everyone in Britain knew that face. Laura Parker. Camilla's daughter from her first marriage, the woman who had stayed largely out of the spotlight, who preferred privacy over royal attention. "Step away from the case," Daniel said, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. Laura didn't flinch. She looked at him with sad, tired eyes. "You don't understand what's happening here, Officer Reed." She knew his name. That was never a good sign. "Put the box down. Now." Daniel's hand hovered near his radio again. "If I do that, the truth dies tonight." Laura's voice cracked slightly. "And my family continues living a lie that's destroying us all." Before you find out what happens next, make sure you're subscribed. This story gets more intense with every minute, and you won't want to miss what's coming. Hit that subscribe button now. Daniel took one step closer. The box in Laura's hands looked ancient, made of dark wood with gold clasps. Whatever was inside, it was small, but clearly valuable enough to risk everything. "I've been coming here for 6 months," Laura continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "Studying the schedules, learning the patterns, waiting for tonight." "Why tonight?" "Because tomorrow, my mother signs documents that will change the monarchy forever. Documents based on lies." Laura's hands trembled now. "This box contains letters, written by someone who died keeping secrets. Secrets that will prove my mother never should have." She stopped. Footsteps echoed from the corridor behind Daniel. Heavy footsteps. Multiple people. Laura's face went pale. "They're not supposed to be here yet. Daniel, please. You have to trust me. What's in this box will expose the biggest betrayal in modern royal history." The footsteps grew louder, closer. Daniel had seconds to decide. Follow protocol and stop Laura, or become part of whatever conspiracy was unfolding in the darkness. Laura's eyes pleaded with him. "My mother doesn't even know what they've done in her name. What they're about to make her do? If you stop me now, she becomes their puppet forever." The footsteps stopped. Someone was listening just around the corner. Daniel's radio crackled. A voice broke through, cold and commanding. "Reed, detain the intruder. Use any force necessary. She's extremely dangerous." But Laura didn't look dangerous. She looked desperate, terrified, like a woman running out of time to save someone she loved. The voice on the radio came again. "Reed, acknowledge." Daniel looked at Laura, at the box, at the shadows where the footsteps had stopped. Then he made the choice that would change everything. Daniel pressed the button on his radio. Intruder heading toward the West Gallery. In pursuit, he grabbed Laura's arm and pulled her in the opposite direction, toward the service stairs that only staff used, toward the one route he knew wasn't monitored tonight. "What are you doing?" Laura gasped as they ran. "Probably ending my career." "Move faster." Behind them, shouting erupted. Orders barked in clipped military tones, the kind of coordination that didn't come from standard palace security. This was something else. Something planned. They burst through a narrow doorway into the servants' corridor. Ancient and cramped, with low ceilings and stone walls that had stood for 400 years, Daniel knew every inch. He'd studied the building's layout obsessively when he first started. Back when he still believed protecting the crown was noble work. Who were those men? Laura panted, clutching the box to her chest. I don't know, but they're not palace security. Daniel led her down a spiral staircase, their footsteps echoing off the walls. We've got maybe 3 minutes before they lock down all exits. Why are you helping me? Daniel didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes. Maybe it was 23 years of watching powerful people bury uncomfortable truths. Maybe he was just tired of being told what to think. They reached the bottom level, the old kitchens. Unused now, converted into storage and maintenance rooms. Daniel pulled her behind a massive stone pillar and finally stopped to catch his breath. He'd talk fast, he said. What's really in that box? Laura's hand shook as she opened it. Inside, wrapped in faded silk, were letters. Maybe 20 of them. The paper looked old, yellowed with age. The handwriting was elegant, feminine. These were written by Princess Diana, Laura whispered. In the months before she died? Daniel felt ice spread through his chest. That's impossible. Everything Diana wrote was cataloged, archived. Not everything. Laura carefully pulled out one letter. She wrote these to someone she trusted. Someone outside the royal circle. Someone who kept them hidden for almost 30 years, who... My grandmother. Laura's voice broke. My father's mother. She and Diana were friends. Real friends. Diana told her things she couldn't tell anyone else. Daniel scanned the letter Laura held. Even in the dim light, he could make out phrases. They're planning something. Camilla doesn't know the full extent. If anything happens to me, these letters must survive. This doesn't make sense, Daniel said. Diana died in 1997. What could she possibly have known about? About the plan to elevate my mother to queen consort. Laura's eyes were fierce now. Daniel, Diana knew. Someone told her. Someone inside the palace showed her documents. Plans that were already being drafted. Ways to rehabilitate Camilla's image. Ways to make the public accept her. Ways to erase the past. Every royal marriage has politics, Daniel said, though his certainty was fading. Read this one. Laura thrust another letter at him. Daniel read. His blood ran cold. Diana's words were clear, specific. She described meetings she wasn't supposed to know about. Conversations between palace officials and media consultants. A timeline stretching decades into the future. A calculated campaign to reshape public opinion, and buried in the middle, one sentence that made everything else irrelevant. They told Charles that removing me was necessary. That I was the obstacle. That once I was gone, everything would be simpler. Daniel looked up. Removing her? She's talking about her death. Laura finished. Diana believed someone in the palace wanted her gone. And she was right. Because 3 months after she wrote that letter, she died in Paris. The weight of it pressed down on Daniel like a physical force. 23 years of guarding people. Of trusting the institution. Of believing in something bigger than himself. Why now? He asked, why steal these tonight? Because tomorrow, my mother signs documents that officially designate her queen consort in all but ceremony. It's the final step. And I just learned that the same people who planned Diana's removal are still here. Still making decisions. Still protecting their secret. Laura's face was wet with tears now. My mother has no idea. She thinks she's finally being accepted. She thinks Charles loves her. She doesn't know she's been part of someone else's plan this entire time. A plan that started with murder. Footsteps thundered overhead. Voices shouted orders. The search was spreading. They'll find us, Daniel said. This place isn't as secret as it used to be. Then we need to leave. Get these letters to someone who can expose the truth. Who? The press. The police. Laura, we're talking about the crown. They own the press. They have influence everywhere. Laura grabbed his shoulders. Her grip was strong, desperate. Then we go to the one person who can't be silenced. The one person the public will believe no matter what the palace says. Who? Laura smiled grimly. Prince Harry. He's been saying the institution is corrupt for years. Everyone thought he was bitter, exaggerating, but he was right, and these letters prove it. Daniel heard a door slam somewhere close. Too close. There's a tunnel, he said quickly. Leads to the old stables. Built during World War II in case of invasion, almost no one remembers it exists. Then that's our way out. They ran again. Through darkness. Through history. Through corridors that had witnessed centuries of secrets. Behind them, the voices grew louder, angrier, and Daniel realized that whoever was hunting them wasn't trying to stop a thief. They were trying to stop the truth. The tunnel smelled of damp earth and old concrete. Daniel's flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in decades of grime. Water dripped somewhere ahead. Their breathing echoed in the confined space. How far? Laura asked, stumbling over uneven ground. Quarter mile? Maybe less. Daniel kept his voice low. Sound traveled strangely down here. Stay close. They'd been moving for 5 minutes when Daniel heard it. A scraping sound behind them, metal on stone. Someone else had found the tunnel entrance. They're coming, he whispered. Laura clutched the box tighter. How did they know? Doesn't matter now. Run. The tunnel narrowed. Daniel had to duck to avoid hitting his head on the low ceiling. His knees ached from the crouching position. Behind them, footsteps splashed through puddles. Getting closer. There, Daniel pointed ahead. A rusted ladder climbed up to a metal hatch. That's the way out. They reached the ladder. Daniel went first, testing each rung. Some were loose, corroded. He climbed carefully, reached the hatch, and pushed. It didn't move. It stuck, he grunted, pushing harder. Let me help. Laura climbed up beside him on the narrow ladder. Together, they pushed. The hatch groaned. Rust flaked off the edges. Then, with a screech of metal, it gave way. Cold night air rushed in. Daniel pulled himself up, then reached back to help Laura. She handed him the box first, then took his hand. Behind them, a flashlight beam swept across the tunnel walls. Close now. Too close. Daniel grabbed Laura's arm and hauled her up. They were in the old stables, exactly as he'd hoped. Abandoned, overgrown, the perfect place to disappear. My car, Laura gasped, catching her breath. It's parked 2 streets over. Near the pub, they ran through wet grass, past crumbling stone walls, into the narrow streets of Windsor town. The castle loomed behind them, massive and dark against the night sky. A monument to power. 2 secrets kept. Daniel heard shouting. Someone had emerged from the tunnel. The hunt was continuing. They reached Laura's car. A modest sedan that looked nothing like what royalty would drive. Smart. Laura fumbled with her keys, hands shaking. Get in, she said. Passenger side. Daniel slid in as Laura started the engine. She pulled away from the curb without turning on the headlights. Only when they'd turned to corners did she flip them on. Where are we going? Daniel asked. London. I have a friend. Journalist. Someone I trust. A journalist. Daniel shook his head. Laura, the palace will bury this. They'll discredit you. Call you unstable. They've done it before. Not if we release everything at once. Not if we give it to multiple sources simultaneously. Not if we make it too big to suppress. Laura's jaw was set, determined. I've been planning this for months. I have copies of everything. Videos, recordings, evidence of the cover-up. Diana's letters are just the beginning. Daniel stared at her. What else do you have? Proof that palace officials met with intelligence services 3 weeks before Diana's crash. Proof that the Paris tunnel cameras were disabled that night by someone with British government credentials. Proof that witnesses were intimidated into changing their stories. That's impossible. That would require coordination at the highest levels? Yes. Laura glanced at him. My grandmother wasn't just Diana's friend. She was MI6, retired, but she kept connections. She spent 27 years investigating Diana's death, collecting evidence, waiting for the right moment. Why now? Why not years ago? Because she died 6 months ago, cancer, and she left everything to me. Made me promise to finish what she started, to protect my mother by exposing the people who've been using her.
Daniel
Felt dizzy. This was bigger than he'd imagined. Not just a conspiracy theory. Not just speculation. Evidence. Real evidence. Your mother, he said slowly. Does she know any of this? Laura's hands tightened on the steering wheel. No. She thinks she's finally happy. She thinks Charles chose her out of love. She doesn't know she was selected, groomed, positioned, all to replace Diana and give the monarchy a clean slate. That's cruel. That's the institution. It doesn't care about people. It cares about survival, about maintaining power, and anyone who threatens that gets removed. Laura's voice hardened. Diana threatened it by being too popular, too independent, too human. So they removed her. They drove in silence for a moment. London lights appeared on the horizon, the city where everything would either come together or fall apart. Daniel's phone buzzed. Text messages. Dozens of them. All from palace security. Orders to report in. Threats of disciplinary action. Then one that made his stomach drop. It's Officer Reed. We know you're helping her. Come back now, and we'll call it a misunderstanding. Continue, and you'll be arrested for treason. Treason. They were actually threatening treason charges. They're desperate, Laura said, seeing his face. That means we're right. That means they're scared. Daniel turned off his phone. No going back now. They exited the motorway into London proper. The streets were empty at this hour. Street lamps cast orange pools of light on wet pavement. A few early morning workers waited at bus stops. Normal people. Living normal lives, having no idea that miles away, inside palaces and government offices, people were making decisions that shaped the world. Because we're being followed. Black SUV, 3 cars back. Been with us since Windsor. Laura checked her mirror. Her face went pale. How did they find us so fast? Probably tracking your car. Or mine. Doesn't matter, Daniel thought fast. We need to ditch the car. Get somewhere public. Somewhere with cameras and witnesses. Where? Daniel checked his watch. 4:23 a.m. Liverpool Street Station. Trains start running soon. Lots of people. Lots of cameras. Hard to disappear someone in a crowd. Laura nodded and changed course. The black SUV stayed with them. Not trying to hide anymore. Just following. Waiting. What happens when we get there? Laura asked. We make the call. To your journalist friend, to Harry, to everyone. We release everything before they can stop us. And if they catch us first? Daniel looked at her. At this woman who'd risked everything to save her mother from a truth she didn't know she needed to be saved from? Then we make sure someone else has the letters. Someone they can't touch. Laura reached into her jacket and pulled out a USB drive. Already done. Uploaded to a secure server? If I don't enter a code every 12 hours, everything releases automatically. My grandmother taught me that. She called it her dead man's switch. Smart. Careful. Exactly what someone with MI6 training would do. They pulled into the station car park. The black SUV pulled in 2 rows behind them. Dawn was breaking. Pink light touched the London skyline. Daniel grabbed the box of letters. Ready? Laura nodded. Let's finish this. They opened their doors and stepped into the most dangerous morning of their lives. Liverpool. Street station was coming alive. Early commuters shuffled through the concourse, clutching coffee cups and staring at phones. The departure boards flickered with train times. Pigeons pecked at crumbs near the entrance. Daniel and Laura pushed through the glass doors. Normal, casual, just 2 more people starting their day. The men from the black SUV followed 50 feet behind. 3 of them. Dark suits, earpieces. They weren't even trying to blend in. Coffee shop, Daniel muttered. Lots of people. Stay visible. They ducked into a crowded cafe. The smell of espresso and fresh pastries filled the air. Daniel positioned them at a table near the window, where everyone could see them, where security cameras pointed directly at their faces. Laura pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I'm calling Rachel, my journalist contact. Put it on speaker. The phone rang twice. A woman's voice answered, sharp and alert despite the early hour. Laura, do you have any idea what time it is? Rachel, I need you to listen carefully. I'm about to send you something. Diana's letters. Evidence of a palace conspiracy. Everything. Pause. Then Rachel's voice changed. Focused. Professional. Where are you? Liverpool Street Station. I'm being followed. Palace security or intelligence services? I don't know which. Laura, if this is real, it's real. My grandmother spent 27 years collecting evidence. Diana knew she was in danger. She wrote it down. All of it. Send it now. Everything. I'll start making calls. Daniel watched the three men enter the station. They split up. One moved toward the cafe. The other two took positions covering the exits. We've got maybe 2 minutes, Daniel said. Laura's fingers flew across her phone screen. Uploading now. It's a lot of data. Diana's letters, documents, recordings. Come on, come on. The progress bar crawled across the screen. 40%. 50%. The man nearest the cafe was speaking into his wrist. Looking around, his eyes swept past their table, then snapped back. He'd seen them. Faster, Daniel breathed. 65%. 70. The man started walking toward the cafe. Entrance. Slow, deliberate. His hand moved inside his jacket. Laura, Daniel's voice was urgent. Almost there. Don't look at him. 80%. 85. The man entered the cafe. Pushed past the morning crowd. His eyes locked on Laura. 90%. Daniel stood up, moving between Laura and the approaching man. You need to back off. The man smiled. Cold, professional. Officer Reed, you've made a serious mistake. Come with us quietly, and maybe we can minimize the damage. Who are you? Someone who cleans up messes. And right now, you're a mess. Psst. Step away from her, Daniel said. Can't do that. The man reached for Laura's phone. Daniel grabbed his wrist. The cafe went silent. People stared. Touch her again, and I'll break your arm in front of 20 witnesses, Daniel said quietly. The man's smile widened. You really don't understand how this works, do you? Those witnesses won't remember anything. The camera footage will disappear. You'll be the villain in this story. The guard who went rogue, who helped a disturbed woman steal royal property. 100%, Laura whispered. It's done. She pulled her phone away and stood up. Everything's uploaded. Diana's letters. Your faces. This conversation. All going live in about 60 seconds unless I stop it. The man's expression flickered. Uncertainty for the first time. You're bluffing. Try me. Laura held up her phone so he could see the screen. A countdown timer. 53 seconds. My friend Rachel is a journalist with The Guardian. She's got everything now. In 50 seconds, she publishes unless I enter a code. So you have a choice. Let us walk out of here, or become part of the story. The man spoke into his wrist again. Listened. His jaw tightened. 40 seconds, Laura said. People in the cafe were recording now. Phones out, filming. The scene was going viral in real time. You'll destroy your mother, the man said. She'll be humiliated. Questioned, her reputation ruined. My mother will finally know the truth, that she was used, that the people she trusted had been lying to her for 30 years. She deserves that truth. 30 seconds. The man stepped back, raised his hands. Fine, walk away. But this isn't over. Yes, it is. Laura grabbed Daniel's arm. Let's go. They pushed through the crowd. Out of the cafe. Across the concourse, people watched, filmed, posted. 20 seconds. Daniel's heart hammered. They reached the street exit. Fresh air hit his face. "Stop the timer," he said. "Not yet." Laura kept walking. "We need distance." They turned the corner, ran past shops, past other early risers. The city was waking up around them. 10 seconds. Laura stopped in front of a newsagent. People inside were buying papers. Living normal lives? She looked at Daniel. "Once I stop this, Rachel publishes everything. The palace will call it fake. They'll attack us. Attack my mother. Our lives will never be the same." "Do it anyway," Daniel said. "People deserve the truth." Laura nodded. She entered the code. The timer stopped with 3 seconds left. Her phone rang immediately. "Rachel, it's live," Rachel said. "I've sent it to every major outlet. The Times, the BBC, CNN, everyone. I've got journalists calling me already. Laura, this is huge. This is going to explode. How long until the palace responds? They're probably crafting a statement right now. But it won't matter. The letters are in Diana's handwriting. The documents are authenticated. The recordings are clear. This isn't something they can spin." Laura closed her eyes. "What about my mother?" "She'll find out soon. Probably within the hour." "I'm sorry, Laura, but you did the right thing." They hung up. Laura stood there, phone in her hand, looking suddenly small, vulnerable. "Should call her," Daniel said gently. "Your mother. Tell her yourself before she hears it from someone else." "And say what?" "That I just exposed the biggest royal scandal in modern history? That I stole Diana's letters to prove her death wasn't an accident? That the life she's built is based on lies? Say that you love her. That you did this to protect her." Laura's hands trembled. She dialed. The phone rang. Once, twice. Then a voice Daniel recognized from television.com. Elegant Camilla. "Laura." "Darling, it's very early. Is everything all right?" Laura's voice broke. "Ma'am, I need to tell you something, and you're going to hate me for it. But I need you to know I did it because I love you. Everything's about to change. And I'm so sorry." Daniel heard Camilla's sharp intake of breath. Heard confusion turning to fear. "Laura, what have you done?" "What grandmother asked me to do. What Diana would have wanted. I've told the truth." The line went silent. Then Camilla's voice, barely a whisper. "Oh God, the letters." She found the letters. Laura's face went white. "You knew?" "I suspected. Diana mentioned them once. Years ago, before everything happened. I thought they were lost. I prayed they were lost." "Ma'am, don't. Just don't." Camilla's voice hardened. "You have no idea what you've just started. No idea who you've put in danger. I was trying to protect you. Protect me." A bitter laugh. "Laura, you've just made me the most dangerous person in Britain. Because now they have to decide if I'm an asset or a liability. And liabilities get removed." The line went dead. Laura stared at her phone. Tears streamed down her face. "She knew," Laura whispered. "My mother knew about Diana, about the plan. She's been lying this whole time." Daniel didn't know what to say. What comfort could he possibly offer? Around them, London continued waking up, unaware that in the next few hours, everything they thought they knew about their royal family was about to shatter. By 7 a.m., the story had gone global. Daniel and Laura sat in a small hotel room in Camden, watching the news unfold on a laptop. Every channel, every website, the same headlines in different languages. Diana's secret letters reveal palace conspiracy. Royal family in crisis as new evidence emerges. Camilla's daughter exposes decades of deception. BBC News showed photographs of the letters. Diana's handwriting clear and urgent. Reporters spoke in grave tones about the implications. Constitutional experts debated whether this could bring down the monarchy itself. Laura sat motionless. She hadn't spoken since Camilla hung up on her. Daniel's phone buzzed. Unknown number. he answered cautiously. Officer Reed. A woman's voice. Calm. Authoritative. Who is this? Chief Inspector Sarah Morrison, Metropolitan Police. We need to speak with you immediately regarding the theft of royal property and breach of security protocols. I'm not coming in. This isn't a request. You've committed serious crimes. Surrendering now will help your case. My case? Daniel laughed bitterly. You mean the case where I helped expose a murder conspiracy? That case? The letters are being examined. Initial assessments suggest they may be forgeries. Sophisticated ones, but forgeries nonetheless. Of course you're saying that, Officer Reed. You're a good man. 23 years of exemplary service. Don't throw that away for a conspiracy theory. Saw the letters? I held them. They're real. And come in. Let's talk. Let us examine the originals properly. If you're right, you'll be vindicated. Daniel knew what that meant. Surrender the evidence. Let it disappear into some evidence locker. Let the investigation drag on for years until everyone forgot. No, he said, and hung up. Laura finally spoke. They're going to arrest us. Probably. My mother knew. She knew what happened to Diana, and she stayed silent. Maybe she had no choice. Maybe they threatened her too. Or maybe she wanted it. Laura's voice was hollow. Maybe she wanted Diana gone. Wanted the life Diana had. The title. The respect. Everything. You don't believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. Daniel turned back to the laptop. A new notification. Breaking news. A statement from Buckingham Palace. He clicked on it. The statement was brief, clinical. It denied everything. Called the letters fraudulent. Suggested Laura Parker had suffered a mental health crisis and fabricated evidence. Expressed sympathy for her condition and hoped that she would receive appropriate treatment. They were discrediting her. Painting her as unstable, crazy. The oldest playbook in existence. They're destroying me, Laura whispered. Reading over his shoulder. Not just you. Look. Daniel scrolled down. Multiple royal correspondents were publishing identical articles, all questioning Laura's mental state, all citing unnamed palace sources describing her as troubled, attention-seeking, jealous of her mother's position. The machine was working, grinding her down, making her the villain. Laura's phone rang. Rachel. I don't read the comments, Rachel said immediately. Don't look at social media. Just don't. Too late. Laura, listen to me. This is standard procedure. They discredit the messenger to discredit the message. But it won't work. I've had 3 separate handwriting experts verify the letters. They're real. Diana wrote them. The paper, the ink, everything checks out. Then why is everyone calling me crazy? Because that's all they have. The evidence is solid. The documents are authenticated. The recordings are being analyzed by acoustic specialists. Everything confirms your story. But that takes time. Right now, they're controlling the narrative. By tomorrow, the truth will catch up. Will it? Laura sounded defeated. Or will they bury it like they buried everything else? Not this time. This is too big. Harry's people have already reached out. He wants to make a statement supporting you. That got Laura's attention. Harry, he's seen the letters. He believes you. He's going to speak publicly about his mother's fears. About the institution's failures. This is what he's been waiting for. Proof. When? Tonight. He's calling a press conference. Laura, this changes everything. They hung up. Laura looked at Daniel with something like hope in her eyes. Maybe this will work. Maybe people will listen. Daniel wanted to believe that. But 23 years around power had taught him how it really worked. The powerful protected themselves. Always, his phone rang again. Different number, Reed. It's Marcus, his former partner. His best friend for 15 years? Right. Marcus. How did you everyone knows? The whole service is talking about it. About you helping her. About the letters. Marcus's voice was strained. Daniel, please tell me you were coerced. Tell me she forced you somehow. She didn't force anything. I chose to help her. Why? God, why would you throw everything away? Because it was the right thing to do. The right thing. Marcus's voice rose. You stole royal property. You helped a civilian break into Windsor. You're facing prison, Daniel. Actual prison. I know. And come back. Surrender. Let me help you. We can say you were manipulated, that you didn't know what you were doing. I knew exactly what I was doing. Marcus was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Sad. You're saying you're a traitor. That you betrayed the crown. Maybe I did. Or maybe I'm the only one who stayed loyal to what the crown is supposed to represent. Truth, justice, honor. That's not how this works. And you know it. Then maybe it's time how this works changed. Marcus sighed. I can't protect you anymore. Once they issue the warrant, I'll have to bring you in if I see you. I understand. Do you? Daniel, they're not playing games. They want you gone, discredited, made into an example. You and Laura both. Let them try. I'm serious. These people, they don't lose. Not ever. And when someone threatens them, they remove that threat. Permanently. Daniel's blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying Diana thought she was safe too. Look how that turned out. Marcus paused. Watch your back, old friend. And tell Laura to watch hers. The line went dead. Laura had heard enough. Her face was pale. They're going to kill us. They're going to try. But we're not hiding anymore. We're going public. Full media. Multiple interviews. Make ourselves too visible to disappear. If that doesn't work? Daniel looked at her. At this woman who'd risked everything for a truth that was destroying her. Then we make sure the story survives us. Make sure people remember. Laura nodded slowly. My grandmother used to say something. A quote from someone. I don't remember who. The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend itself. Let's hope she was right. They packed their few belongings. Time to move again. Stay ahead. Stay visible. Stay alive. Daniel's laptop chimed. New email. From an address he didn't recognize, he opened it. The message was short. 3 words. Check the tunnel. Nothing else. No signature. No explanation. What tunnel? Laura asked. Daniel's mind raced. Then it clicked. The one we escaped through. At Windsor. Why would we? Because someone wants us to know something. Something they couldn't say directly. Laura grabbed the laptop. Searched for news about Windsor. Scrolled through articles, then she found it. A small story. Barely a paragraph. Maintenance workers at Windsor Castle had discovered structural damage in an old service tunnel. The tunnel would be sealed permanently for safety reasons. Work beginning immediately. Destroying the evidence. Laura breathed. Any trace that we were there? Any proof of what happened? Or they're hiding something else? Something in that tunnel they don't want found. They looked at each other. Same thought. Dangerous thought. We have to go back, Laura said. That's insane. They'll be waiting for us, and we don't go through the front door. There are other ways in. Ways my grandmother showed me. Your grandmother knew Windsor's secret passages. My grandmother knew everything. Laura was already grabbing her coat. If they're sealing that tunnel, it's because there's something there. Something that proves we're right. Something they can't let anyone see. Daniel knew she was right. Knew it was probably a trap. Knew they were walking into exactly what the enemy wanted. But they'd come this far. Might as well see it through to the end. All right, he said. Let's go find out what they're so desperate to hide. They reached Windsor just after noon. The town was swarming with media. Satellite trucks lined the streets. Reporters spoke into cameras in front of the castle gates. The whole world was watching. Perfect cover, Daniel thought. Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. Laura led him through narrow alleys behind the tourist shops, past old pubs and residential streets where locals live their quiet lives, largely ignoring the circus at the castle. Here she stopped at a garden wall, ancient brick, covered in ivy. This leads to the castle, to the old grounds. There's a maintenance gate my grandmother showed me. It's never locked because it's never used. Everyone's forgotten it exists. They climbed the wall, dropped into an overgrown garden. Daniel recognized it. The old keeper's garden. Abandoned when they modernized the grounds 15 years ago, they moved quickly through tall grass and wildflowers. The castle loomed above them. Guards patrolled the main walls, but no one looked down here. Why would they? This section had been closed off decades ago. The gate was exactly where Laura said, rusted, half hidden by vegetation. It opened with a groan that made Daniel wince. They slipped through. Inside the grounds now, Daniel's heart hammered. He was trespassing on the property he'd sworn to protect, helping a woman they'd labeled a criminal. But he kept moving. Laura navigated with confidence, following paths only she could see. Her grandmother had trained her well. They reached a groundskeeper's shed. Laura tried the door. Locked. She pulled out a thin piece of metal from her pocket. Lockpick. Your grandmother taught you that too? My 6 retirement includes a comprehensive skill set. Laura worked the lock. It clicked open. Inside the shed, tools and equipment covered every surface. But Laura went straight to the floor, pulled back a canvas tarp, revealed a wooden trapdoor. This connects to the service tunnels, she said. Different entrance from the one we used last night. This one comes out closer to the section they're sealing. They descended into darkness. Daniel's flashlight revealed a tunnel identical to the one they'd escaped through. Same damp walls. Same smell of earth and old concrete. But this one was different somehow. More official, maintained. They walked in silence. Every sound magnified. Every shadow potentially hostile. After 10 minutes, they heard voices ahead. Workmen, talking about concrete mixtures and reinforcement schedules. Daniel and Laura crept closer, peered around a corner. 4 workers were setting up forms for concrete, preparing to seal the tunnel permanently. But they weren't regular maintenance workers. Daniel recognized the way they moved. Military training. These were specialists. They're not sealing damage, Laura whispered. They're sealing evidence. What evidence? Laura pointed. Behind the workers, barely visible in the shadows, was a doorway. Old, made of wood so dark it was almost black. And on the door, a symbol. A royal crest from centuries past. That's not supposed to be here, Daniel breathed. That section of the castle was destroyed in a fire. In 1864, everything was rebuilt, except this. This survived. And they've been keeping it hidden ever since. One of the workers checked his watch. Break time. Back in 15, they filed out, leaving the tunnel empty. Daniel and Laura didn't hesitate. They moved fast. Reached the ancient door. Laura tried the handle. It turned. The door opened into a small chamber, no bigger than a bedroom. And inside, covering every wall, were documents, files, photographs, all meticulously organized and preserved. Daniel's flashlight swept across them. His breath caught. These weren't just old records. These were secrets, scandals, cover-ups spanning centuries, documented, cataloged, hidden. This is the Crown's insurance policy, Laura said, awe in her voice. Evidence against anyone who might threaten them. Politicians, judges, journalists, everyone who matters. All their secrets in one place. Daniel found a file labeled Diana Spencer II, 1997. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were surveillance reports. Photographs of Diana with Dodie Fade, transcripts of phone conversations, and a single document that made Daniel's blood run cold. An operational plan, dated 3 months before Diana's death, detailing how to manage the Diana situation, how to ensure she could never damage the monarchy's reputation, how to make it look like an accident. Oh my God, Laura breathed, reading over his shoulder. It's all here. Every detail. They planned it. They actually planned it. But there was more. Daniel found another file. This one labeled Operation Restoration Phase 2. He opened it. The plan inside was comprehensive, detailed. It outlined how to rehabilitate Camilla's image, how to introduce her gradually to the public, how to manage media coverage, how to make her acceptable as queen consort. Every step they'd taken over the last 27 years was in this document. Every public appearance, every charity event, every carefully crafted interview, all planned, all calculated, and at the bottom a list of people who'd objected to the plan. People who'd asked questions, reporters who dug too deep. Next to each name, a date. In a single word, managed. They didn't just plan Diana's death, Laura said, her voice shaking. They silenced everyone who got close to the truth. For 3 decades, Daniel pulled out his phone. Started photographing pages. We need copies of everything. There's too much. We'd need hours. Then we take the most important files. The ones that prove the murders. The conspiracy. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel. The workers returning early. Time's up, Daniel said. Grab what you can. They stuffed files into their jackets. Diana's file. The operational plans. Lists of names. Evidence that could bring down not just the monarchy, but dozens of powerful people. They slipped back through the door just as flashlights appeared in the tunnel. Someone's been here, a voice said. The door is open. Possible. This section's sealed, then explain the open door. Heavy footsteps. Running. Coming toward them. Daniel and Laura ran. Back through the tunnel, toward the trapdoor. Behind them, shouts. Orders to stop. The sound of radios crackling. They reached the shed. Climbed up. Slammed the trapdoor shut. Outside, the grounds were no longer empty. Guards everywhere. The alarm had been raised. This way, Laura pulled him toward the old keeper's garden. But guards were coming from that direction, too. They were surrounded. Daniel looked around desperately. Then he saw it. The main gate. Wide open. Media crews filming. Crowds gathered. The front entrance, he said. They can't touch us there. Too many witnesses. They ran. Guards shouted. Some gave chase. But Daniel and Laura had surprise and desperation on their side. They burst through a hedge. Stumbled onto the main path. Right in front of a BBC camera crew. The reporter spun around. Recognized them immediately. Laura Parker? Officer Reed. Guards skidded to a halt behind them, unsure. Too many cameras. To public. Laura pulled out the files. Held them up for the cameras. Diana was murdered. We have proof. Everything's documented. The plan. The cover-up. All of it. The reporter's eyes went wide. Can you prove that? It's all here. Laura thrust the files toward the camera. Operational plans. Surveillance reports. Evidence that the palace planned Diana's death and has been covering it up for 27 years. More cameras swung toward them. More reporters pushed forward. The story was exploding in real time. A black car pulled up. The door opened. And Camilla stepped out. The crowd went silent. Camilla walked toward Laura, slowly. Her face was impossible to read. Ma'am, Laura said. I'm sorry, but people need to know. Camilla looked at her daughter. At the files? At the cameras? Then she did something no one expected. She took the files from Laura's hands. Opened them. Let the cameras film the contents. She's right, Camilla said, her voice clear and strong. Diana was murdered. And I've known for years. They told me what happened. Made me complicit by telling me. Said if I ever spoke, I'd meet the same fate. The crowd erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Camilla kept talking. I've lived with this guilt for 27 years. Worn the crown she should have worn. Taken the life that should have been hers. And I've hated myself every day for it. But I was afraid. Afraid of what they'd do to me. To my children, to Charles. She looked directly at the cameras. But I'm not afraid anymore. My daughter was braver than I ever was. She risked everything to expose the truth. And I won't let her stand alone. Security tried to intervene. Tried to pull Camilla away. She shook them off. The institution is corrupt, Camilla continued. It serves itself, not the people. It protects its own power at any cost, even murder. And I've been part of that corruption. God forgive me, I've been part of it. Police arrived. Real police, not palace security. Officers Daniel recognized. Chief Inspector Morrison stepped forward. Mrs. Parker, Officer Reed, you need to come with us. You're both under arrest for what? Laura demanded. Theft, trespassing, espionage. Take your pick. We have evidence of murder, Daniel said. Multiple murders. A conspiracy spanning 3 decades. Morrison looked uncomfortable. That's for the courts to decide. The courts? Camilla laughed bitterly. You think the courts are independent? You think justice will be served? Every institution in this country is compromised. Every judge, every politician, every official who matters. They're all in the files. All documented. All controlled. Morrison's radio crackled. A voice Daniel recognized. High-ranking. Powerful. Take them all into custody. Use force, if necessary. This ends now. But Morrison hesitated. Looking at the cameras. At the crowd. At the files Laura held. I can't, Morrison said quietly into the radio. There are too many witnesses. Too much evidence. If I arrest them now, we become part of the cover-up. The voice on the radio went silent. Then it came back. Calm. Resigned. Stand down. Let them go. Morrison looked at Daniel and Laura. You're free. For now. But this isn't over. Yes, it is, Laura said. Because the truth is out. And you can't put it back in the box. The next hours were a blur. Interviews, statements, experts examining the files. Handwriting analysts confirming Diana's letters. Historians verifying the documents. By evening, the government announced a full public inquiry. Multiple arrests. Investigations spanning the security services, the palace, and beyond. The monarchy itself was in crisis. Calls for abolition filled Parliament. Protests erupted across London. But through it all, 3 people sat together in a small police station interview room. Daniel, Laura, and Camilla. What happens now? Laura asked her mother. Camilla smiled sadly. Now we face the consequences. All of us. Together. They'll try to prosecute you. For conspiracy? For accessory after the fact. Let them try. I'd rather spend my life in prison than one more day living a lie. Daniel looked at them. Mother and daughter. Connected by blood and now by choice. Both brave in ways he'd never be. You did the right thing, he told Laura. Both of you. Laura asked. We've destroyed the monarchy. Damaged Britain's reputation. Created chaos. You exposed the truth, Daniel said. That's never wrong. Even when it's painful. 3 months later, the inquiry concluded. 16 people were arrested, including former intelligence officers, palace officials, and 2 sitting members of parliament. The documents from the hidden chamber revealed decades of blackmail, intimidation, and worse. The institution had been rotten at its core. Charles abdicated. William refused the throne. The monarchy was suspended pending constitutional reform. Laura and Camilla faced no charges. The evidence showed they were victims, not perpetrators. Daniel received a full pardon and was offered his job back. He declined. Some things once broken can't be fixed. On a cold January morning, exactly 1 year after that night at Windsor, Daniel met Laura at Diana's grave. Do you think she'd be proud? Laura asked. Of what we did? Daniel thought about the woman in the letters. Passionate, honest, unafraid of truth. I think she'd say it was about time, he said. Laura smiled. Placed flowers on the grave. White roses. Diana's favorite. My grandmother left me a letter, Laura said quietly. To be opened after everything was done. She wrote it before she died. What did it say? That the truth is worth any price. That lies, even comfortable ones, poison everything they touch. That love means setting people free even from beautiful cages. She looked at Daniel. She said I'd have to choose. between protecting my mother from pain and protecting her from lies. She said I'd make the right choice. You did? Did I? My mother's reputation is destroyed. She's facing trial in the court of public opinion every day. People hate her. Blame her. She can't even leave her house without security. She's free, Daniel said. For the first time in 30 years, she's free of the lie. Free to be herself. Isn't that worth something? Laura nodded slowly. She said something similar. Last week, she said she can finally sleep at night. That the nightmares have stopped. They stood in silence, watching the sun break through winter clouds. What will you do now? Laura asked. I don't know. Maybe write a book. Maybe just disappear. You? I'm thinking of going back to school. Studying history. Someone needs to make sure this story gets told properly. Gets taught. So it never happens again. Think it will work? Think people will learn? Laura looked at Diana's grave. At the woman who'd tried to tell the truth and died for it. I don't know, she said honestly. But we have to try. Because if we don't, her death means nothing. And I refuse to let that be true. Daniel nodded. Then let's make sure it means something. They walked away together. Two people who'd risked everything for truth. Who'd chosen the harder path. Who'd changed history. Behind them, white roses lay on cold stone. A memorial to a woman who died speaking truth to power. And ahead of them, a country struggling to rebuild. To create something better, something honest. The work would take years, maybe generations. But it had begun. And sometimes, that's all you can ask for. The courage to begin. The strength to speak truth. The hope that it matters. Diana's letters had done their job. The betrayal had been exposed. The ultimate price had been paid. Now, it was up to everyone else to decide what came next. To choose truth over comfort. Justice over convenience. Freedom over beautiful cages. The choice every person makes. Every day. In small ways and large. The choice that determines whether we're truly free or just pretending to be.